Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of epic fantasy romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Oh, delightful. Had to have the additional sip there. Today is Monday, September 30th, last day of September. What'd I tell you? What I don't know what I told you. I predicted this day would come. Inevitably. I'm feeling good. Hope you all are feeling good. I had a really nice weekend, a relaxing weekend with some friends, and I went and stayed at a really nice hotel just down in Albuquerque and spent some time hanging by the pool and had wine and chocolate and a nice meal. And it was really great. Shout out to my friend Susan Lee, who does not listen, but I understand that her husband does. So, hi, Kadir, if you are listening. Uh, Susan, I talked to her, I think I told you all. I talked to her like last weekend. We had this very long conversation where we caught up on like a month's worth of stuff. But Susan had said to me, she said, what's happening for you with this book, with Never the Roses, is something that most people never ever get. She said, and another person, I think she may have even said a man, would have gone off and drunk champagne for a week. And meanwhile, I have a lot of responsibilities beyond writing the next book, which is makes me happy. My achiever strength, right? But yeah, I mean, I can't go off for a week and drink champagne. So, um, Susan, I don't know, but I have a lot of good friends encouraging me to take breaks and enjoy things. And I don't know, for some reason, what she said to me really struck a nerve, and I was kind of feeling like I needed some time. One thing about me, and I don't know if this like counts as achiever strength or if it's just me being, probably me being me, same thing, is that I almost never take a vacation that is anymore, that is purely a vacation. It's always tied to a conference or a meeting or to family. And I had an interesting conversation with a male friend of mine, Jim Sorensen, because I made the offhanded remark. Jim and I have really interesting conversations about how uh, males and females, men and women view things, especially those of us, like still, assigned, doing our assigned at birth thing, our programmed roles, because we're both pretty independent thinkers, but are fascinated by the ways we fall into our gender defined roles. And I had made the offhanded remark that vacation with family didn't count. And he said, yes, vacation with family counts. And I said, no, it doesn't. And he said, well, you could still have a fun and relaxing time on vacation with family. And I said, yeah, but there's so much other stuff going on, like you're, managing everybody else's good time, and it's not like it's there for me just to have fun. And he kind of gave me a long look, and he's like, this is a difference between us. Like, it had never occurred to him that, and maybe it's a functional family thing, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I have a pretty functional family, but you know vacation with my family members is great, but there's always this interplay of all the things that I feel like I need to help manage. Where are we going to have dinner? What are we going to have for dinner? Do we need to buy things for breakfast? Even just that kind of thing. So, anyway, it is rare for me to go do a thing where I'm not responsible for really anything. And so it was great. I laid in the sun, I went down the water slide, I had wine by the pool. Having drinks by the pool is one of my favorite things. We went for a long walk at sunset, had a great dinner, and excellent company. I watched the sunrise with my coffee, and it was fabulous. So uh, consider me celebrated. It's all I'm going to do. That should hold me for the next year. Kidding. I'm kidding. I do have some exciting things to tell you all. I have to wait for Outlook to open, but I got a really lovely endorsement quote from the fantabulous Connie Willis, Nebula Award winner, Grandmaster, Hugo Award winner. So Connie, I asked her if she would read Never the Roses, and she sent me this blurb, both ethereal and sensuous, and with a story as arresting as its pink pebbled beaches and lavender roses. Jennifer K. Lambert's Never the Roses is a fantasy as seductive and dangerous as the dream through which it often wanders. An absorbing read. Thank you, Connie. And then I got this one from Diana Vega, my editor, my interim editor. Oh, and this is great. So this one is from Sarah Beth Durst, who is the New York Times bestselling author of The Spell Shop. And this is one that my editor had sent out and asked for. And so I don't think I've ever met Sarah Beth. Apologies if I have. You all know I'm terrible at this. And Sarah Beth gave me the nicest quote. Listen to this. She said, "Such an extraordinary novel, full of unexpected love, magic, heartbreak, and healing. It completely stole my heart. I absolutely loved it." Yay! So I am, yeah, doing my best to enjoy these things and feel good about them. Well, I do feel good about them, but like taking the time off, that's something. I did come back fairly early yesterday and got the laundry done and some financial stuff done, which also makes me feel good. Friday, I had a tired. My last week word count was not a record breaker by any stretch. I only ended up with 2,000 new words on Never the Roses, but I did get. Oh, I'm sorry, I Rose in the Mirror. We even forget what book we're working on. Uh, but I did get the. I think it took more out of me than I realized doing the reading on Never the Roses, doing that first pass proof. Um, Engaged my story brain more than I expected, which is okay. It kind of comes back around to this idea that I talk about all the time, that it's really important to observe ourselves and observe what we actually do, what we're actually capable of doing. So now I have learned that reading first pass page proofs, even in the grape arbor on gorgeous autumn days, uh, is not like just reading any book. That it, because it was mine, it really did take something out of me. Um, I only managed 1 hour on Friday, and I got like 182 words, and I could just tell I was I was done. So, which is all right, right? That's kind of comes back to this thing that the be curious, which I feel like I was talking about before it showed up on Ted Lasso, but it's a good principle. It's like the curiosity of a field biologist, of observing ourselves and as a test subject. What do we actually do as opposed to what we expect? So many expectations, right? We're constantly hitting ourselves with these expectations, and there are you know we are I'm trying to think of a phrase that I want for this. I want to say organic creatures. We are not shaped by expectations. We can try, but that doesn't mean we're always going to just take on the shape that expectations force upon us. Um, so that's the counterbalance to what I was saying before, right? With the gender roles and these ways that we operate that we don't really fully process that we're operating. The that subliminal programming, that deep programming from way back, where we do things that, yes, according to expectation, but that doesn't mean that we flourish under those expectations. Maybe that's what I want to say. I I watched The Age of Adaline with Blake Lively, based on the, I don't know, best-selling boo-boo book by Colleen Hoover. That's my my sound for, I don't know, like excitement and fireworks and my lack of knowledge of exactly which all things it hit. But apparently, this book sold very well. I did not read it. I did watch the movie. I'm not going to read the book. I found the movie fine. I really like Blake Lively. I really like Jenny Slate. She did a fantastic job in it. Um, I haven't read any reviews of the movie, but I had higher expectations for it maybe than I should have. And yeah, I found it a little tepid, maybe. Um, but I really do like Blake Lively and what she's doing with her career. And I've been fascinated to watch the ebb and flow of public opinion on these very famous women like Blake and like Taylor Swift, who are tied together because they are very good friends. And Blake Lively's early directorial debut, I guess I should say. I probably ought to say both early and debut, but she directed one of Taylor's videos. And Blake went with Taylor to some of the Kansas City Chiefs football games last fall, all of these things. So I've been seeing things going around, especially with this movie coming out, um, with people saying things about how Blake Lively's like a bitch or not a nice person or this or that. And I don't even know where it all comes from. But it puts me in mind of, I never know, like, how do these things work? Is it like an organized campaign by some person or a couple of people, or is it just this inevitable shift? But as soon as somebody becomes wildly popular and famous, there have to be a group of other monkeys that pop up and start throwing unripe bananas at them. I don't know. Monkey poo. uh, and when I talk about that, I've been a Swiftie from way back. Um, and I don't remember which era this is, but it was certainly, uh, I don't know, it might have been around her 1989 album, before Reputation, maybe around Reputation, which is, of course, all about her getting slammed on social media for stuff. But I remember I was like on Twitter or someplace like that or a forum, and people were talking about Taylor Swift, and a couple of gals had said that they just didn't like Taylor Swift because of the way she went through men, that they thought that she was irresponsible about it. And of course, on 1989, that's the album with her song Shake It Off, where she talks about exactly those things. You know, she addresses that, I stay out too late, all this kind of thing. And reporters were famously asking her questions. Like there was that one at an awards show where a female reporter asked her, said something like, "You'll probably be going home with one of these men tonight." And Taylor just looked at her and she's like, "No, I'm not going home with any men tonight." It's this insidious form of slut shaming, right? Where people have to make snide remarks. So anyway, these gals had said something about that. And I said, that's really unfair because you would never say that about a male rock star. And I feel like this is a form of, I guess, our theme for the day, this programmed misogyny, where you think that there is something wrong with the fact that this famous pop star shouldn't be having multiple boyfriends. And it's not like she was sleeping with groupies every night, like, oh, Mick Jagger can do that and it's great. But, oh, Taylor Swift, she has a couple of boyfriends, and people are like, clutching their pearls. But it was interesting because I remember at least one of the gals said, wow, I never thought of it that way. And when we look at, there's the reverse thing of, like this Nickelback. It happened with Nickelback. Like where somebody reaches this pinnacle of popularity and all of a sudden this polarity switches. It happened with Gwyneth Paltrow. People just decide that they hate the person. And, maybe, who knows what it is. And I don't know if it's even worth talking about, but it's, although clearly I'm talking about it, it's a weird thing, and so people start jumping on this bandwagon and being like, oh yeah, Blake Lively's just a terrible person, all this kind of thing. And it's like, you don't know anything about her. And I guess if you're allowed to worship celebrity, then you can also trash it. I don't know, but it's definitely a thing, right? And I don't know where I was going with that, except I'd made a note I wanted to talk about it. It's funny, I also have a note that says CPR, and I don't really know. That's what I leave. This is one of my things about writing too, is I leave myself notes sometimes, and then I have no idea what I meant. Once I left myself a note that said humans with question marks, and who knows what I was thinking at the time. Uh, One thing, though, I was making this observation to myself over the last few days. So, what the hell is up with Google going totally to shit, right? Um, I used to say back in the day that Google would have an investment in making sure that we got good search results, or we would stop using the search engine. Um, and now I am wrong. I don't think I said that 20 years ago, and now I am proven wrong because I cannot get a decent search result on Google. If I want to look up something as simple as what's the best way to deal with an ingrown hair, uh, I get crap results. And I mean, I guess I've been reading things about how, Google's business model is moving toward information mining. And so they care more about information mining. And also with this, the AI stuff, like trying to, um, when you do a Google search, you get the AI synthesis of results. And so all of these websites that are providing the information are seeing a downturn in traffic because people aren't going to the site to read about it. They're just doing the AI synthesis of it. I always want to put it in air quotes. Uh, Interesting. And I'm thinking that what I'm going to do, and I don't know if this is what other people are going to do. I hate to predict this as a trend because clearly I'm wrong sometimes. But I'm going to just start booking useful websites again. Which doesn't that feel like, for those of us who have been around for a while, the early days of the internet? Back then we didn't have Google. I liked Hotbot. Does anyone remember Hotbot? I used Hotbot. Um, and I know there are other search engines I could be using, and maybe that's what I have to do. Uh, but I'm thinking I'm going to go back to the olden days of having my bookmarked sites, like reliable information sources like WebMD, which I'm not sure if that's reliable, but I'm going to have to start doing research and have a folder of reliable sites where I can look up things like health questions or exercise questions. That was it. I was trying to look up one of the best ways to improve cardiovascular health. I wanted to check to see if my jogging program was optimal, see if there was some new research on it and that kind of thing. I got such garbage results. So many sponsored posts and bullshit YouTube videos, do our cardiovascular program. It sounded just like that too. That I was like, I bailed. I just bailed because the first page of results was all crap. Um, Thanks, Google. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to start bookmarking sites. So if any of you have good resources or a good search engine, I mean, I know I could use like DuckDuckGo. Maybe I should start doing that. But yes, all advice welcome. So, oh, and word count wise, I'm still happy because, as I mentioned on Friday, I mean, I've gotten 29,000 words this month, which is the best month I've had since last October when I got 47,000 words. So, like, there's no way I'm going to eclipse that. But I'm very excited to get to work this week and up my word count again. So I hope you all are excited about what you plan to get done this week, and hope you had a restful weekend, some celebration, some rest, and now for achieving. And I will talk to you all on Friday. You all take care. Bye bye.